Welcome into 50 Pirates in 50 Days here on the Sports Objective. Very excited to have a guy that was in the days of Bill Lewis and Steve Logan, 1989 to 1993, a defensive lineman. I wish we could see if he has some more eligibility for the current team. We'll talk to him about that. Jeff Cooke, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
So excited to have you on. One of our favorite things we like to do in the summertime is relive the history of the Pirates. And you guys, the men and women that have worn the purple and gold, you guys are very special to us on this show. And we want you guys to be honored. And obviously, it gives us a chance to reflect on football as we're getting ready. Hopefully, we'll have a season starting August 29th. I don't know. It's a weird time we're in now. And certainly want to have you on to relive Pirate history. And obviously, first of all, before we even talk about your time at East Carolina, how are you doing during the COVID-19 pandemic, the crazy world we live in, the twilight zone?
Man, I've been blessed. We haven't had any sickness in my family. Nobody's contracted any of the diseases. I think I had a great uncle who contracted it and eventually passed away, but he was already sick, and he was already on the wind down. So we've been kind of fortunate. Just taking care of what needs to be done, abiding by the rules that they've set for us, and hopefully this thing will be over right around the corner. Yes, sir.
I tell you what, that's it's great to hear that. It's one of the things that's been scary for me is I've known now there's a third person that I know personally. In fact, this particular person, again, I found out today is on a ventilator, so we're going to send our thoughts and prayers out for him. But for all the folks right now that have COVID-19 or their family, that we know family members who, not us, but we know people that had one particular case that a few that have passed away. So, and then your case too, your family. So we'll send our thoughts and prayers for everybody right now. And it's just crazy right now with the world we live in right now, where I haven't, you may not tell, but I love to on TV, but here streaming, but I love to eat. I haven't been to a restaurant, Jeff, since March. And I love to eat. I love restaurants. I'm not going to lie. And I love going out to eat, but I have it's been really surreal to think I've been this long. This is definitely a record, 4 months without going to a restaurant. So, I would never expect to do that. I love to eat at restaurants a couple times a week, 2 or 3 times, maybe more than probably I should. And now we move into a situation where that's when I want to bring you in, being a former player. I can't imagine what the coaches and the players are going through right now. Something we've never faced before. That normally you have, and you being a former player, you know how you have the summer workouts and you got the strength and conditioning coach, and you probably think you're going to die because of the strength and conditioning in Greenville in the summertime is brutal. Yes. Now they've got the mental aspect of you got to prepare for a season, even though you may not have a season, or you may have abbreviated season, or you could have a spring football, which normally we think is scrimmages and a great big scrimmage at the end of spring practice, if you will, is more what it is. But now we could actually be playing football, baseball, and basketball and many other sports at the same time. Is that crazy or what?
That is unbelievable. Right now, I just want to encourage the youth to hang in there. The coaches right now have a monumental task, and that's to convince these players that there is a season right around the corner and to stay focused as if there is a season. So week in and week out, not knowing, even as a coach. So, hats off to the coaches right now who faced with this challenge, and let alone the COVID-19. That's just, the overcast of that. Just football is a physical sport. There's going to be some exchange of sweat. So we just hope and pray that everything works out for the Pirates.
No doubt about it. And I know if there's anybody that's got the Pirates prepared, it's Mike Houston and company. We'll talk about him. Definitely. I want to go back to your time though. Let's see if we can, how long I can go without talking about COVID. Let's go back to let's go back to a more innocent time, pre-COVID, when things, I know they were not normal, but they're definitely more normal than they are now. Yeah. Let's talk about how did you go from being, let's talk about your high school career a little bit, and then how did you get recruited by the Pirates?
Well, Art Baker was transitioning out. Bill Lewis had accepted the job, and he had his forces going out doing some heavy recruiting. And I just so it happened to have a pretty good high school football career. For 3 years, did a pretty good job. I was on a really good team, so getting recruited at a Division I program, I humbly thought that I wasn't the best guy on defense. We had 9 guys on that defense go to college.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was one of those teams. We great team that year, and I think his name was Kelly. I can't remember. It was Coach Kelly. I can't remember his first name. It's been so long ago. He recruited this area. He came to a few of the games. My high school football coach introduced me to him, and he offered it maybe the second or third game of the season. I think they was trying to get the program solidified early. So he kept coming in and out. I didn't commit initially. I just want to take a couple of visits. I took a couple of visits. I went to state, went to North Carolina A&T. At that time in '89, the ACC was not a powerhouse football conference. Right. It was more basketball. So ECU had that national schedule that it just intrigued me. We played the West Virginias, the Miamis, Syracuses, and Bill Lewis came to the area. And when he came to the area, it's at that point I committed back in '89. So just from being a high school athlete, I played football, wrestled, ran track. I just stayed active to always have something to do. And Bill Lewis being such a great guy, Bill Lewis is a great motivator. I mean he did some classy things. I'm gonna tell you one of the ones you may have heard, may have not heard. He do things like when I signed and got to ECU, he going into each week, and I'm a freshman, so I don't know that these kind of things don't take place. He'd have one of the assistant coaches to call into the team meeting as if he's the coach from the opposing team. And I'm so serious. Boy, those coaches they'd fuss back and forth, and we'd get all riled up in there.
I've never heard of that. I've never heard of a coach doing that. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yes, he did some classy stuff. But he was a great coach, and it was easy to play for him because he always had the players interested heart. And as you can see, the players believed in him. We ended up having a great season those years that he was there. He got the program turned around relatively quickly. Opportunity presented itself, and then at that point, Steve Logan comes in. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, no, I was going to talk about first with Bill Lewis because Logan is very special too. Logan was a coach, obviously. Well, by the time I got there, Logan was a coach. I came in my sophomore year at East Carolina, but being a huge East Carolina fan, I was at the Peach Bowl. We'll talk about that season, but I want to talk about the build-up under Bill Lewis because when I started becoming a Pirate, I think that people don't understand that because we were, and I'm being fair to Art Baker because I think that Art Baker was a great man. I think he was a great coach. I think if you take, and no offense to the current coaches that we have, but can you imagine the day's climate? We had to do it because we were, for folks that don't know, they're new Pirates. We were not in a conference. Can you imagine? I mean, I'm a competitor, but man, oh man, to take on the likes of, you have Syracuse and Pitt and Miami, and we played Florida State, and you could go on all the ACC schools. And I mean, it was unbelievable to schedule. And I think that's why now, Jeff, that I've gotten spoiled. That's why I became a Pirate fan, is because of the atmosphere at Dowdy Ficklen, obviously Ficklen at the time.
Yeah.
But we have the best fan base, in my opinion, and very underrated for people that are watching across the country. If you've never been, you got to come to a tailgate. You've got to experience Dowdy Ficklen Stadium at Bagwell Field on a Saturday afternoon in Greenville. What else is there to do? And then you have the fact that we were playing that national schedule, and we had great athletes. And I really believe that Art Baker, I know that was right before your time, but I really believe that he gets a bad rep because of the fact of the schedule that we had right now, murderous row schedule of all the big boys. And I know we beat the big boys, right, with Lewis and with Logan and beyond for the most part. But I'm going to tell you something right now. The slogan, "We're going after the best," that's when I started to become a Pirate fan. And then people say,
Yes,
why do you want all these big names on these guys? Are you crazy? I said, well, we've always done it that way. I mean, that's that we're pirates, and we'll take you on if it's in the parking lot. We're going to take you on if it's in the alley, and
absolutely.
wherever name the time, date, and place, and we'll be there. That's the kind of pirates. We don't need to be playing some competition that's way lower to us. I've just always been one of those kids that there were guys that were older than me that I tried, even though I had no chance against them, playing pickup games in basketball or whatever, or being in the backyard and your cousins are way bigger than you and they tackle you, you feel like you're getting ready to die. Back in the way back in the day, I've just always had that competitive spirit, and that's one thing I appreciate about you guys, the great athletes we came under
Yeah,
during that era. And so I don't think people understand that the schedule you guys, even with you guys with Bill Lewis and Logan, that you guys were playing big name competition. You want to
yeah,
talk about when Ruffin McNeil talks about putting your big boy pants on, you
yeah.
guys had to keep those pants on. You didn't even get a chance to take them off, did you?
No, 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 no. And much respect to the guys that are there now, and they're going to do a phenomenal job to get the program turned around. They have to start somewhere. But the schedule we had then, it was a brutal schedule, number one. And Bill Lewis, he coached us. We let me tell you something. If you were part of that 11 starters on offense or defense on a Saturday during that era, you paid the price. Our slogan back then, we could, the slogan we had as players back then could not, the NCAA probably wouldn't allow it now, but it was something as simple as blood, sweat, and tears. So that's that's how we operated. I can recall getting there, and under Coach Omar, he was our strength and conditioning coach. We had a gym, a weight room, and in August we'd work out in that weight room. This is before the new facility was built, and it was not air conditioned.
Yeah.
It was just big fans blowing through. And when we first got the new facility built, and the older players was like, are we going to cut the air conditioning off, because that's kind of softening us up a little bit. I can't imagine these kids today going into a weight room with no air conditioning. But we grinded. We had 3-a-day practices, and it was such a rigorous routine that the papers back then would have statements, maybe a week into camp, 3 pirates jumped ship at night. It's things of that nature. It was a grind. And I'm going to tell you, if it wasn't for the sake of me coming back home and facing all of the people that are here, it pushed me to the edge to make me think that, hey, do I really want to play collegiate football? But I'm so glad that he pushed us to that capacity, because with that kind of push behind you, then we really felt like we could take on anybody and win any
Right.
day, anywhere. Just bring them. I mean, he broke our minds and put into us this relentless type of game that you could win against anybody. And so I still carry that to this day. Some principles that he put inside of us as young men then, they still carry me right now. And so it was that kind of branding on the mind of that ECU branding that Bill Lewis put into us. I enjoyed it. It was rigorous. We played some great teams. Had some several of the games went down to the fourth quarter, and we'd find a way to win. The stadium would be electrified when those teams come in. They'd sell out, and you're right. The tailgating, atmosphere was so phenomenal. And to see what the program has went through over the past 5 to 6 years, being brought up in that kind of environment,
Right.
oh man, it's a night and day difference. But
Yeah.
I believe Houston, he'll get it turned around.
I do believe that. I was going to tell you that, even though I didn't have the talent, it's sickening to think about the guys that came before the current players. And I hope that you can. I know that Coach Houston, I will tell you this, if you don't know, he wants former players to go back and go to practice. He wants you to feel a part of the team and the program. I don't think we had that previously, but I will say this: we need the Jeff Cooks of the world, though, guys that had the speaking of the blood, sweat, and tears, the
Yeah.
guys that like made us proud, and all the times people have gone to Kinston and Greenville to the airport at 2 o'clock in the morning, or the bus rides when I'm sure y'all probably thought, oh God, I'm glad this is not like an away team situation where it's actually fans that love us and not hate us when you're pulling in the parking lot, all those fans. But that's what I want these guys to see is that we are pirates and we do not surrender it to anybody. You know, in no quarter we
Yes.
have no, and that's one thing that I want the guys of the past. Maybe I don't know what we can do, but I want this team to understand this program currently to understand that we've been to the top of the mountain. With you guys, we'll talk about in a minute with in a few minutes with 91. But when you have finished ninth in the nation, 11-1, like in the Peach Bowl, and
Yeah.
all those close misses in Georgia, like in 90. I mean, I could go on and on with all the close games y'all had against
Yeah.
the big boys. I mean, the big boys. And the one thing that I know that one of our guys that we have on a lot, Terry Gallagher, back in the Pat Dyer era, always talks about is that, let me tell you something. If we won or lost, even if we lost, they knew that we played us. We played them because we did not every single down. They had to give their best to beat us if they beat us, and that's what I want. That mentality of the pirate, of not only Pirate Nation, for the fans to give more money. I want the fans to let's get. Hopefully, we can get them to in the games this year. That's a whole nother show, as they say. But I hope that you guys, a lot of the guys that during that era, a lot of guys have won in the past. I don't care what era it's from or what decade it's from. We've had a lot of winning seasons, and I want those guys to go back and say, look, you know, if you don't want to put in the work, if you don't want to be a pirate, it's fine. Go somewhere else. But if you're going to be a pirate and you're going to put that purple and gold on, then there's an expectation we have of pirate football. And you know, I don't want to preach here tonight, but I just I'm feeling more optimistic about a football. I don't know. I go back and forth, Jeff. One day I feel like we're not going to have a season. The next day I don't know. This is the most I've ever been as far as a sports fan, a yo-yo, where one day I feel like things are going to be okay. It'll be a little bit different. The next day, I'm like, man, we might even have a football season. But when we do have a football season, I want those guys to know that you guys are special, and that if I say it, they probably don't care because I didn't play. I went to East Carolina and covered the team. But when you guys can say, look, we didn't have air conditioning, okay, when we were lifting weights, and you guys have a Taj Mahal, you have a palace compared to what we had.
Yes, yes. I think if we could get that mentality into the kids, that's the major challenge with the coaches. It's such a long period of time ago, and the nature of the athletes have changed. The things that you could push them to do, but I think under just looking at, I really got into the hiring of Houston in my own mind, speculating because it bothered me so bad to see the program the way it was before he took the realm, took it. And to be totally transparent, I was 100% pro Dave Blackwell. And I was pro Dave Blackwell because he remembers I played alongside that guy. So I knew he knew what it took to get the program turned. But after seeing Houston's resume and looking at it, one thing I know for sure is this guy is a winner.
No doubt.
He takes programs and he turns them around, and that's just what he does. So I don't doubt at all that he's going to get the job done. Although just because Dave Blackwell went through blood, sweat, and tears, that was my fan favorite. But if they follow the principles that Houston is operating by, which I'm pretty sure he's doing a great job in that aspect. Just looking at how he had to comb through the program when he first got it. There was players that didn't fit the mold of the Pirate program that had made it onto the Pirate uniform. And I think he's pulling that fine tooth comb through the program slowly, because when I look at his style of play at the places that he's been, it gives me hope that the program is going to get back to that glory. We just got to have some strong recruiting classes, get past this season that we're in right now with this fog of can we have a season, because if we could have one this year, I just got this feeling from what he's put into the players over these last years that we're going to see even a greater turn than what we saw last year. Because even last year the games that we lost, we could get those things fixed with a couple of recruits that could come in and get groomed in his mold. So my hope is that that whole program, just to be transparent, I hope because I hope we can keep them that long. Number one, because my biggest argument back then was if I got a major program with major dollars and I see a resume like that, that's a no-brainer for me. That's a no-brainer. And if he turns our program around, then it's for sure a no-brainer.
Exactly.
But my hopes is that we can get it done and principles get established back into the program so that even if we lose them, the players can carry the principles on to the next ones.
And one thing I mentioned too that impressed me with Houston is I knew his winning track record, but I mentioned a few times on the show, Jeff, what's really cool, if you look back at all the programs going all the way back to high school level, all the way up, every single one of those programs he's been at is still winning today, my friend, still winning today after he left the program. So he didn't build it. He didn't build it for just a short time and get in there and, hey, look at my resume and I'm going up to the next level. No, it's built from that's a well-built house. Good bones, good bones. So man, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that's a great research. That is awesome. That is awesome.
So if you get a chance, check that out. Check it out. We got some one of our co-hosts, Bubba Rosenbaum, wants to chime in, and we got a couple others. So I wanted to put his comment. He's actually in the mountains right now, camping, but he wanted to chime in. So I want to put this up on the screen for you. He's asking, Bubba's asking talk about learning from veterans like Greg Cargill, who we've had one of the 50 Pirates, as he talks about. We spoke to him on the series on the defense front early days during your Pirate career. Can you talk about Greg and the other guys on the team?
Man, Greg Cargill I'm just gonna call him. He was a piece of twisted steel. he just gets the job done. And this country guy, and he was a phenomenal athlete, and not in the aspect of the specs, but in his mindset, he just would not go down. And as a matter of fact, me and my wife were out visiting someone at the hospital a few days ago, and this is my hand. I actually mentioned Greg Cargill because he had this big pickup truck, and there was a small median about 2 or 3 feet that separated the traffic from the parking lot. And I said, in my mind, I went back, all the way back. I said, man, if that was Greg Cargill, he'd run right over that median and go right down the road. He'd take that truck. But he was a great guy, really came in, and I was behind him. He was older than I was. So his work ethic just established this great principle of this is how you get things done as a Pirate. It was less talk, more action, and more determination. He was a great guy. Now I know I've seen a couple of pictures of him on Facebook, and looks like he's doing pretty well for himself.
He is on the Outer Banks, and I know you. Let's talk about too before I forget. You were actually a product of Sanford, right? Was it Lee High School? Bubba was telling me.
Yeah, yes, Lee County.
Great football, a lot of great football there. I want to put up another comment from Rick Gilmore. He said, I wasn't listening at first, but didn't Jeff tear up his knee at the All-Star game in Greensboro?
Man, he's got some history. That's wow. We got some researchers on the line. Yeah, I played in the McDonald's high school All-American game. I tore my ACL up in that game, and I came in.
I don't call him. I don't know where you.
Yeah, I came in with an ACL injury, and I actually signed at ECU as an outside linebacker.
Oh, I didn't know.
By the time I got off that ACL reconstructive surgery and went through the off season, I think that off season I gained probably 40 pounds in muscle weight. And it solely came because when you leave home to go to college, you leave home with a diet of, I'm gonna eat a sausage biscuit in the morning before I go to school, and maybe the school lunch, and my biggest meal is the dinner my parents cooked at home. But I came in that under the era where we had the training table. The training table had not been taken away yet, and I could go through line and say, give me 3 of those biscuits right there, 2 of those over there, 1 of those, and 4 cups of apple juice, all on the same tray. And that was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And when you combine that with the work ethic that Bill Lewis had put in place, I had some major gains in strength and speed. But that first year, I had to recover and go through the rehab of that ACL reconstruction. I've got that old surgery with the long scar versus the neat little laser surgery they do today with it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that I wanted to ask you about that very process when you. By the way, Rick Gilmore said he was at that game, at the All-Star game in Greensboro. So I put that up on the screen. But he
Wow.
was at. That's how he knew about that. He was there, and when it happened, I guess.
Yeah, man, that's a long time ago. Woo. Yeah, I was out there, and I was on the punt team, on one of the special teams, and I was on the front line doing some protection they called Zorro protection, which everybody kind of extended their leg to interlock so the punter could punt the ball, and one of the other team members tried to jump over the line, and he came down on my leg when it was fully extended out in a lunge position. And that thing rolled and tore the ACL, the medial collateral, and the lateral collateral. I had 3 tears on that surgery.
Did you have a knee left? Wow.
Yeah, but I think his name was Dr. Bartley. We used to say, we'd go in there and we'd have the surgery, and the veterans would say, they'd look at my leg and they'd say, yeah, Dr. Bartley, he's going to go to Hawaii on that surgery.
Oh my goodness.
I was his vacation surgery.
Yeah. So how about so let's talk about that for rehabbing it in your mind, obviously coming out of high school, and that how does and then knowing that you've got that transition from high school to college, that's got to be rough when knowing that you're an all-star, you're playing in the all-star game in Greensboro. That's infamous for people that know North Carolina high school football. That's a really big deal, and that's a special honor to play in that game.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to rehab? And I know that's a tough time, but at the same time, it finds out really who you are as far as your character, right, is concerned.
Yes, it took. I tore it in the summer of that, during the game that year. It was a latter, right there at the latter part of the school year, and I came back. I actually played in the spring with a special knee brace and a special brace. But I was at therapy every day. When the team was at therapy, I was on this machine that bent your knee. And then once I progressed to where I can get enough degrees bent on my knee, then they put me on the bicycle. And then from there, just by the grace of God, I signed up for, as one of my classes, advanced swimming. I used to love swimming, and the water, the therapy, it just caused everything to get back intact to where I only wore the knee brace, probably the surgical knee brace, for 2 years. And after that, I put on the regular one. So the process, it was rigorous. Psychologically, I had never missed a season from the time I started playing football. I started playing football at 7 years old.
Wow.
And I had never missed a season, and never had an injury of that would put me out of a game. Never. And so to have something, when I got hurt, I was thinking that, okay, something's happened to my knee, put some ice on it, we're going to go back. And the doctor grabs my leg, and he does this little maneuver where he pulls it. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this may be just a little bit more seriously. And then he says, well, you probably missed the whole season. At that point, I hate to be transparent, I cried. I was in the room miss a season of football. That was unheard of. And it's been a part of my life for just that long. So the psychological recovery from missing that first year was it took a little while, just as long as a knee injury, to get back on the field and to work your way back into shape, to be in a shape that exceeds what you were in high school, so you could even compete. It was in its totality. I came back in the spring, but I'm going to say it took me until the next spring to really get to the place where I felt like I was a Division I athlete again.
Wow, that's amazing. Let's talk about the miracle season. Speaking of seasons, I know that a lot of people may know about it, but we don't get your take on 1991. We believe the Peach Bowl year. I mean, I would have never guessed in a million years. We got robbed in that Illinois game to start off the season, but to win 11 straight is phenomenal. And to finish number 9 in the country, you beat a in-state rival, probably the biggest rival we have, with NC State in the Peach Bowl. They wouldn't play us after 1987 with the quote-unquote riot on their part and Raleigh. And so the Peach Bowl puts the two teams together in Atlanta. It looks like that you guys are going. It was a tough first 3 quarters, but then it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yes.
And we've had people that have been on the podcast that were with State fans who thought they had won the game driving back from Atlanta. They left early.
Yes.
And they didn't realize that that was before technology, to the point of seeing that you could listen to it on the phone or certainly read that. But talk about the 91 season all the way up to the Peach Bowl. I know that that's a lot of games and but how did it feel? It's got to be sweet for that season.
It was a Cinderella season. Let me make sure I don't want to lose them. Put the plug on here.
All right.
Okay. I think we got powered up. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're good. This is your show. This is your time, so we're good. Anytime I can call Pirate football, I'm good.
That season, let me say this. I had a blessed football career. When I say a blessed football career, when I got to where it really counted in junior high school, at that time, junior high school was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. I never lost a game for 3 years.
Oh my God.
And then when I got to high school, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, over the course of those 3 years, we only lost a total of 5 games. So I've had a phenomenal career getting here. So to get to the program and go 500 that first year, I had a knee injury, so I'm watching from the stadium and watching from the sidelines most of the time. To see that thing swing around to where I can participate. I'm not starting, but I do get a chance to participate. To see that thing swing around and now we're knocking off these perennial teams. And so, right. We have this which probably helped us. I'm not certain. The penalty we had in Illinois that caused us to get out of that range. It would have been great to go 12-0, and we probably would have went 12-0. But the psychological benefit of having to bounce back for something like that, if you look at the rest of the schedule, we had to come back against Pittsburgh that year at the stadium. We had to come back against Virginia Tech that year at the stadium. And so we Syracuse. I believe we beat Syracuse that year. So it was several teams and they were nationally ranked. So we played several nationally ranked teams and beat them that we had to bounce back from. To get down to play the NC State game and to get into that game and be behind with that type of score and to get behind that far. In my mind, all I have left to hold on is we believe. That's it. So my hope is based on the slogan of the shirt that we've got. I believe it's all on all our shirts. And going into that fourth quarter, I just had my hope that certain guys got an opportunity to touch the ball, something special would happen. And we had Deion Johnson, and that guy was special. And they messed around, and he got a hold of that ball and took it 40 yards into a place where I think we scored one time with him going in. I can't remember everything that took place. I know we got one to Luke Fisher. Luke stretched across the goal line, and that was the one that put us ahead. I think Blake ran one in, and that whole it was coming down that last minute, the last couple minutes of the game. Either we was gonna win, or our probably was gonna be the youngest guy on the sidelines to have a heart attack, because you just can't. You know, I'd find myself getting engaged in these games to such a degree that I'm thinking to myself, Jeff, this is unhealthy to be engaged so mentally into this game. This is not life. But we found a way. We go down, we score. They get the ball one more time, and their kicker misses that thing. And I think I rode off the high of winning that game probably the next 2 seasons. It was just to be able to come back. It solidified something into the program. All the way up until my senior year. I had a rough road my senior year. And it wasn't because the program wasn't solid. It was a transition season. And I could recall, now being a coach, I can recall the decisions that was made in the administration. And it was that if we had freshmen that were equal to or just a little hair under the starters, and they were older, then we were going to start the freshmen. And it ended up that season became the investment season. After that season, they went to 3 bowls in a row. But my senior season was the investment season. But getting back to the one we won the Peach Bowl, it carried me and my expectation for what we could do as a program in being. You never were out of the game. Right. Never were out of the game after that season. Yeah, there was always a chance, always hope that something special would happen.
Mm-hmm. I was chiming in. I want to put some stuff up here. He put, sir. He said 30,000 plus Pirates chanting "We Believe" on January 1st, 1992 gave you goosebumps like golf balls.
Yes, sir. That's the most amazing time at the stadium. And then coming back, and the whole city was there to welcome us. It was beautiful, a beautiful time to be a Pirate.
Yeah, he says like our fans knew what was about to transpire. Like it's almost like what's amazing about that season is you're very right about you guys when you think about all the winners that are on that team for all the different programs. That's what's great about right now with Houston. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the very fact you guys are winners, there's a mindset that there's some people that we've had in the last few years, they don't know what winning is all about. And I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying they were used to losing. It's like, yep, there we go again. I tell you what, that Memphis game, and the guys tease me about talking about that 17 at the end of the second season for Coach Mo was the most disgusting game I've ever seen as a Pirate fan. And I've seen some ones that are not great. Some of those Navy games, some of those Navy games are not great. But just to roll over and all of a sudden, I mean, they could have put 100 on us that day. Just to think about that and to think about you guys, like I'm talking about, there's no way in the world that even if we lost the game, it was going to be a nail biter to the end. Where it got to the point, I had friends that were talking about they were going to be like hunting, they were going to be doing remodeling on their homes or these do-it-yourself projects. Instead of coming to ball games, I was like, that is pathetic. That is so sad. We don't have that many Saturdays in the fall that you have Pirate games, and you're going to choose to do other activities than going to a game. That's not great. Let's talk about. I know Bubba wanted me to put this up on the screen, so I'm going to do that for you. Talk about the transition from Coach Lewis to Coach Logan, and plus your senior year under Larry Courier.
Woo, man. To talk about going from Lewis to Logan, that wasn't a very hard transition, because at that time Coach Logan was the offensive coordinator under Lewis, and Our offense was kind of electrified. And so, it was, the team was hoping that Steve Logan got that job.
Mm.
And he did. Um, he did. For the years that I was there, I think he did a phenomenal job. He being, we're older now. I'm almost 50. You look back at things. You look at things differently now.
Right.
Seeing where he was at in his career, he did an outstanding job. For that, that's what I had to say about that time window. Lewis at that time, Coach Lewis was, he was at that time and that spectrum of time. Lewis had a better handle on leading the entire team, and Coach Logan, I believe, made a great adjustment from being a coordinator into a Division I head coach, and so we kind of rolled through those wrinkles. And it didn't take him very long to get on track. I mean, like I said, he made some adjustments based on his recruiting style and his recruiting class. Then he brought those guys in. It was a sacrificial senior year, but the next 3 years of Pirate football are mappable. He did a great job. Those are one of the years we almost beat Alabama at Alabama. Yeah. So it was, the tradition was still there. My senior year there, Larry Courier is like the heartbeat of my life, man. He was a diamond. We got that guy, and I watched Larry Courier coach the coaches. Having somebody with that kind of wisdom on the field, and a resume like his, to where he's been around these kind of athletes. When I came in, I was my senior year, I didn't know I had another level of football inside of me until he bitched me. He bitched me in the spring, and he was demanding that I give him more. And one of the most hurtful times of my career is having to go out the spring game, of going into my senior season. I had to go play on the second team as a senior because he brought a freshman in, Walter Scott. He was pretty good. Walter Scott ended up playing at Green Bay. He brought a freshman in and told me I just wasn't giving him enough. And he got into my head psychologically. And that next year, I came back. I had an injury during the early onset of the two or three a day camps, and I had a toe injury, and then from that place, there was this relentlessness that said, you know what, Jeff, if you don't give this guy more that he's demanding, then you're going to have one of these freshmen take your spot too.
Yeah.
And so a gear kicked in. I missed a day, but gear kicked in. I think that season, I may have been the defensive captain maybe six games, and just because of his determination to say, if you don't give me more, you're not going to play. Even though you were senior, I know you got more inside of you. I want it all. And man, he pulled it out of me. And he ended up going to the Jets. I ended up going to the Jets with him. And at that place is where the decision that I made as a freshman, which I was given a choice. I made a decision as a freshman when I came off of the knee injury. Coach Gadet, who is also, if Larry is one side of my heart, Coach Gadet was the other, because he taught me every kind of technique he gave me the tools to be able to play on the next level. He came to me that year and asked me, he said, Jeff, we've got a whole handful of linebackers, Robert Jones, Ken Burnett, Steve Brady, Jerry Dillon, these guys. He said, but we're thin on defensive line. He said, you've gained about 40 pounds, which I had. You gained about 40 pounds of muscle weight. He said, we can work with you. If you play defensive line for us, then, you're going to probably see some playing time this season. Now, remember, you're talking to a guy that has never missed a season, have never missed a game, never had this kind of injury. And Coach Cadet convinced me to play defensive line. That's how I became a defensive lineman, is
Wow.
making a decision to go from an outside linebacker to a defensive lineman. And so that decision panned out for me through college. But when I got to the NFL, then I was obviously out of place. You know, my body size, and I was right at 6'1", 280 pounds. And you've got guys there that you've seen the NFL D linemen, 6'4", 6'5", and they're just as agile as I am as an outside backer. So it was, I went through the preseason, got cut at the end of the preseason, but my relationship with Coach Collier has still been intact. I haven't heard from him in a couple of years. I hope my hopes and prayers he's still doing good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you and I are the same height, and I got to make sure that, I always not joke about COVID-19, but people say COVID-19 about how you're staying at home and all. I said 19, it's more like 30 for me. I'm going in the wrong direction. So I've been working on trying to cut back and going back. I had lost a whole bunch of weight before pre-COVID, right before COVID happened. So I lost about that much, maybe 25 or something like that. So I got to go definitely in a different direction. Let's put up on as far as Logan's career too. We want to put up the other in 94 after you had left, 7-5 and a Liberty Bowl appearance. We of course get shut out. That was a long day. That was my senior year of college. So 30-0, we get shut out and blowout. But then we bounced back in 95, a 9-3 season. You'll have a win against Sanford, Liberty Bowl win there. Chad Holcomb, who we've had on the podcast.
Yeah.
We get that defensive struggle, but he kicked a whole bunch of field goals to win it. And then the 96 season, man, that is a season that really haunts me as a Pirate fan. And that was my first year covering the Pirates for local radio stations there, 94, 98-3. But you get 8-3 with wins in Miami, South Carolina. You have a big win in Charlotte against NC State. Scott Harley's still running to me through the line still today. Huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of 40-40. He's a friend of the podcast, but that one I still can't believe that we never went. I know there were not as many bowls, but when 8-3 with the wins, the resume we had. But it definitely makes us great to think about those games. And the good news is, Jeff, that I appreciate your enthusiasm, obviously, but I appreciate the fact that it seems like that as a former player, it makes me feel good to know that you're optimistic about the future of this program.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. I just believe, I believe in the Pirates. And I think we've got the right guy at the helm. And if we can get past COVID-19, I think we're going to see something special come out of that program. And so my hopes is that we could get a bunch of wins underneath our belt, and maybe in the coming years get some of the bigger programs back on the schedule.
Oh, there's no question about it. In fact, I'll let you do the scheduling because I have a feeling that you'll put some of those the Pitts and the Syracuses and maybe Coach Houston wouldn't like you, but and the coaches, but they already don't get sleep now. But I definitely I think you're right. You know what? You just made me think about something. The biggest enemy we have in our nation right now is COVID-19. If we can get COVID-19 behind us, that'll solve, I think, a lot of problems for sure. What are you up to today? Tell fans what you're doing now.
Yeah, man, I'm a minister, man. I love the Lord. Me and my wife operate Life to Life Ministries here in Sanford, North Carolina, and that's what we do. We just serve Him, and I still love football. I've coached football here. I got out of it. This last year was my last year, and I had to hang the cleats and the whistle up. But I coached 3 years at Southern Lee High School. I coached 3 years. I was defensive line coach there. I was coached 3 years at Lee County High School, is where I finished up at. I was the defensive line coach there. I head coached a middle school program here at East Lee Middle. That's been the extent of my career. So this was the first season that I was actually detached because the ministerial responsibilities put me to the fork in the road. And I'm enjoying it, but I still love football and I still love being a Pirate.
Well, before we let you go, there's a couple more things I want to ask you. One is if you had a message right now to tell those that are watching right now, Pirate Nation, maybe a message for those of us that are in Pirate Nation. You
Yeah.
since you're a minister, maybe you will, well, I'll pass it around the plate. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what would you give the message to Pirate Nation that we've had 5 straight losing seasons? There are a lot of people that the program has gone through a lot internally with chancellors and athletic directors, and we're not going to bring that all up. Everybody know we're not going to rehash that. But the Pirate Nation, the numbers are down as far as Pirate Club numbers are down, members, and there's been just a lot of bad all around,
Yeah.
and on and off the field, if you will. What would be the message that you would give Pirate Nation? Maybe we can get an uplifting message before we let you go.
Well, I'll tell you, my friend, Pirate Nation, you've got to hang in there. We have got the right guy at the helm. He's going to bring in some great principles to build the program off of. And if once we get this program turned around, it's going to solve a whole bunch of administrative issues. Everybody loves a winner. And once you get the winning, nobody remembers when the AD switches hats. So which chancellor who moves out. Winning fixes everything, and for ECU, football is what we need to win at. Baseball does a great job year in and year out, but for Pirate Nation, we really got the right guy at the helm. We've just got to plant these seeds, water them, know that the seed has to go down first before it comes back up.
And Reverend Cooke, what about as far as the players? You're a former player, so if a former players or not former players but current players rather are watching right now, what's the message again? You've won a lot in your life on and off the field, and currently now as a minister, which we need more ministers. One of the things I say on my radio show every day is we have a Bible devotion on our station, and I always on Magic 95.9 several times a day and twice during my show. And I always say, if there's ever a time that we needed the Bible, there was ever a time that we needed Bible devotion, is now with the world we're living in. But what would you tell the players right now that that they see this, they hear this, what would you say to them?
This is the time for players to focus in on the leadership that's in place. This is the time when you believe everything that comes out of his mouth, and you follow, you stay in line. And if he says give 100%, give 100%. Because right now, your investment that you are making into yourself is going to pay off in the future. But this is the time when you get in line and you follow the great leaders. There's a great leader in the program in Mike Houston. So I would encourage all the young players that's listening, follow the leader. He's a winner. All right.
No doubt about it. And I want to mention too, Bubba put this up on the screen. So we can have a road trip together here. Look at this. We're going to the Big House to open up 2023. I don't know if Harbaugh will still be there, but we're going to play Michigan Labor Day weekend of 23. So everybody save the date. And a Labor Day weekend of 2023. We will have football by then for sure. And we won't have to wait. And that's going to be a great game. I'm telling you, with Houston, with all the marbles, with all the recruiting. I'll tell you one thing: Michigan had one in North Carolina team in 2007 that went to the Big House when they were FCS, and they with Appalachian State. So don't ever underestimate the Pirates for sure. Before we let you go, Reverend Cooke, Jeff, how can people give to your church? And as far as Pirate Nation, we're going to pass the plate around and help you out.
Well, we have, you can always mail in. It's at 700 Bragg Street, Life to Life Ministry, 700 Bragg Street, as 700 Bragg Street in Sanford, North Carolina. We do have Cash App. It's Life to Life Ministries, and we utilize that form of giving. And we do the standard form of giving of checks. But if somebody wanted to give, they can mail in, or they can go to our online at Life to Life, the Cash App, and they can get it to it. They can get it to the ministry that way.
Mm-hmm. That's all. Yeah. I tell you what, I want to put on the cleats myself, and I don't have. There's no way in the world I'm going to be able to ever compete at that level. But you've inspired us tonight in many different ways. Thank you for everything that you did for Pirate Nation, and thank you for giving back to your community. I've moved back to home in Williamston, and trying to do great things here with things behind the scenes in addition to the show and a daily show on the radio. But I want to make sure that everybody knows to definitely give to you. And there are a lot of people in the Sanford area. Look out for a fellow pirate and Pirate Nation, and let's pass the plate around and help your ministry out. Thank you for what you're doing, and we'd love to have you back on. It's been a lot of fun here on 50 Pirates in 50 Days.
All right, my friend. Hey, go Pirates.
Go Pirates. That's right. Have a
Yes,
great
sir.
night.
You
All
too,
right,
my
take
friend.
care.
Take care.
All right, so that's the Reverend Jeff Cooke. I appreciate him very much for being on tonight. And definitely 50 Pirates in 50 Days rolls on, as I know Bubba mentioned to us actually on Wednesday morning. I'll be Court Shankweiler is up in Lafayette. I think he's quarterback's coach. Yes, it runs in the family. Steve Shankweiler has been with us many times, obviously in the Pirate Nation, 5 different coaches, I believe 4 stints as being here in Greenville. The man is doing a tremendous job recruiting, as is Mike Houston. Appreciate the Shankweilers very, very much at Court with the tight end position, but now he's actually up in Lafayette as a quarterback's coach. We'll be talking to him Wednesday morning. I know we have a big show on Thursday as well with, he did it all starting back in 1984. He gave his whole entire life to, even though he was not did not go to East Carolina. It felt like he did. He knew what being a Pirate was all about. I'm talking about Lee Workman. He'll join us on Thursday night. And then J.T. Boyd, you know his name very well, played with the Pirates recent years. He'll be with us in 50 Pirates in 50 Days. Thank you so much. We've got a lot of great content that you can check out. In fact, 50 Pirates in 50 Days, by the way, folks, you can check on SoundCloud and obviously Anchor. This year, you can listen to the podcast. Of course, we broadcast live, Facebook live, and then, of course, on YouTube. If you don't catch it live, you can check them there archived on our Sports Objective YouTube channel and obviously on our Facebook page as well. We've had a great time. Enjoyed Jeff Cooke. Thank you so much, as always, for all the support. Our show continues to grow as we started March 1st, 2018. And the men and women of Pirate Nation, we love you very much. And we appreciate you very much. I hope you have a great night. Enjoy what you're doing. And don't forget to support the Pirates. All right. And I hope you have a great night. Go Pirates.